welcome viewers and listeners to a brand new HelloMasters podcast. And today we have a very interesting marketing lead into our, virtual studio, I would say. We have Peron, who hails originally from the US, but I think it's fair to say that you're truly, a global world citizen that has been calling Amsterdam home for, I think, the last 5 years.
That's right. Yes. Good morning.
Yeah. Well, welcome. How are things with you?
Yeah, things are great. Sun is shining here in Amsterdam, as you know, so I can't complain about that.
Awesome. Well, we're glad to have you here on the Friday morning. So before we head off and go very deep into Ace Tate and how this, very quickly became an iconic brand in eyewear in the Netherlands, I would love to actually do a little test with you because I have 2 reading glasses here.
All right, let's go into it.
And
yes.
They look fairly similar. One is, for me. The other one is for my wife. We kind of have a similar eyewear taste, I guess.
Very good.
But they're not from the same store. One of them, is from Ace Tate, and the other one is not. So I'm just going to put them on, and then you should guess which one is from Ace Tate.
Oh man, this is going to be tough.
I know. So this is the first one.
Okay.
I'm just going to turn around so you can have a good look.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to try this one on.
That one's Ace Tate.
Okay, bingo. You know your product. So this is a great start, for a marketer because you have to know your product, right? Otherwise you can't sell it. So big score, Shane. So we're into it, right? Nicely. So, so tell me a little bit about your journey. What brought you to Amsterdam? What brought you to Ace Tate?
Yeah, very good indeed, like you said, and thank you for the nice introduction. I originally hail from the US and I've been here in the Netherlands since about 2015, but indeed, more or less since I graduated university a long, long time ago, I left the US and have traveled and moved in different places. And have been very lucky to be able to have different experiences and work in different organizations along the way. On the way, somehow, very randomly, but very interestingly, eyewear kind of always followed me. I wear eyewear, and I'm fairly blind without it. And funny enough, one of the side jobs that I had when I was in university was to work in an eyewear shop. This was in London, 2001, 2002. And lo and behold, 7 years later, I was representing that brand in Asia and building their marketing and sales there, completely coincidentally almost.
Yeah. And
then lo and behold, here we are, another 10 years later, and here I am with another eyewear brand. So in some ways, I guess I have to say that I never thought that eyewear was going to be something that was going to stay with me forever. But somehow in my career, it's kind of always come back. And when I had the opportunity to join Ace Tate about just a little bit under 2 years ago, I thought it was a fantastic opportunity because, again, coming from eyewear is great, but also the business model is so fundamentally different than how traditional opticians work, how other eyewear brands have worked in the past. So it's also been a great place for me to, let's say, hone my marketing skills and to dive into a different opportunity.
Yeah, sounds awesome. And you kind of have a background where you not only lived in 5 countries, but you also, finished your MBA and you worked for a lot of fashion brands, right?
Yeah, it's I think, how do I say this? Like I've always had a little bit of an interest and taste, not so much in fashion, but I suppose more on the design and the creative side of things. So my undergraduate was also in creative writing, and I've always been kind of leaning towards the area of self-expression, and I was really quite interested with design and clothing design for quite a long time. And of course, eyewear is also another design piece. It's about self-expression, and that's kind of followed me along my career in different ways. But I'm not a creative. I know that I cannot draw. My writing is, good enough, but not great. But I like working with creative people. I like helping them bring their ideas to life. I get really excited about connecting ideas with people outside. And I think that the industry of, let's say, fashion design is a great place for that because you're just able to work and be surrounded by very talented individuals.
Yeah, for sure. So what are the things that you enjoy doing when you're not working?
Yeah, it's also an interesting question. In many ways, I think today, like work really takes over your lives, right? And I have to say, especially the last year or so, with COVID, it's quite easy just to kind of keep working. And I have to, in a way, find things that kind of force me out of my work state. So I really, really try now more than ever to really turn off work and do things that take me to very different places. So, of course, like I think a lot of us are doing right now, and it's kind of boring, but it's still very true. I love going for walks. So here in Amsterdam, as you know, we have a big kind of forest, the Amsterdamse Bos, which I don't live too far from. So I like to go for long walks there. And I like to read. I read a lot of fiction, a lot of history. Try to do as many things as possible that has very little to do with the day-to-day of work.
Yeah.
Because I find somehow for me that really helps me come back fresh.
Yeah.
And finding that balance is definitely an important part.
Yeah. So do you have a favorite book you recently read that you can recommend to the listeners?
Let's see here. I'm a big fan of, I think he's a pretty well-known writer, Japanese fiction writer called Haruki Murakami. He's wrote quite a lot of like postmodern fiction books. He's got a great book I can definitely recommend. So his books are a little bit strange. Let's start there. And let's say an acquired taste. So the deeper you go, the better it gets. But if you haven't read anything from Murakami before, I can definitely read what I talk about when I talk about running.
Oh, yes.
So he's an avid runner.
Yeah, I know that one.
He does like ultra marathons, and he explains how almost the meditative process of running allows him to become a better rider, and the balance between those things. That's a fantastic book. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, cool. So I'd love to just ask you a bunch of rapid fire questions. So,
okay.
I showed you mine Ace and Tate classes. So
Yeah.
you wear one yourself, but do you have a whole collection? Like, kind of, how do you decide what eyewear to wear yourself?
Yeah, I have quite a lot of classes. And the fun thing about eyewear in general is that it lasts very long. It's kind of a strange thing to say, but especially like in the world of fashion where things change all the time. Um, and especially in the world of fast fashion where even just things don't last as long, eyewear can last for a very long time. So I quite like having just a few key styles that kind of stay with you and that you can wear with anything. So I'm wearing what's called the Robert. I'll kind of lean in. You can see it here.
Nice.
And for quite a long time, I wore frames actually similar to what you just showed. So that's made from what we call acetate, which is a polymer that has a little bit more of a crystal feel to it. And when I started working at HT, I tried on metal, which I'm quite enjoying right now. So these are quite nice. They're just round frames, but a little bit of a I guess like a square shape here.
Yeah.
Made in titanium, and they're quite nice.
Very cool.
And these ones have inside them what we call a blue light filter.
Yeah.
And that blocks out the blue light that's emitted from screens, which for me is quite helpful since probably like you and a lot of people watching and listening, I spend a lot of time on screens.
Exactly. Yeah, and it does help, particularly when you work in the evening, to kind of you sleep a little bit better when you wear those lights on. Cool.
Definitely.
So as a marketer, kind of what is your favorite marketing tool, or just favorite tool to work with on a day-to-day basis?
I think if the team heard this, they kind of laugh. But right now, I am obsessed with Trello.
Oh, me too. I love it.
Are you for real? Really?
Yes. It's such a great way to keep control of what's happening and still, build an autonomous team. But why do you love it?
You just said it precisely. I think I am definitely a person built for human interaction. So the last year or so has been quite tough for myself and for our teams to find ways, exactly like you said, to help keep people working autonomously, but also just to connect people. And we had been kind of just casually using Trello for quite a long time. And it was about, I think last summer maybe even when we first spoke, I was really spending a lot of time researching agile marketing and talking to the developers and the IT department, our team, kind of understanding how they work because they work so well remotely.
Yeah.
And we just dove into it. And now I love it because I know everyone in the team is working on things, but I'm able to kind of just look and see where we are and know if we're on track or not. And this is my obsession. So every morning I just wake up, open up the old Trello, see what's going on.
Cool. Very nice.
Yeah.
So if you kind of look at favorite marketing channels, maybe from a business perspective, and then maybe we can answer the social media channels maybe from a professional perspective. But what marketing channels do you really enjoy working with?
Yeah, it's funny. Like maybe this isn't as much from. Well, actually, no. There's definitely a business connection to it. So I guess I like the things you can't have. And I really, really miss the IRL channels, in real life channels. I think especially around before COVID really started kicking off, you saw in general a big shift in marketing to go back to actual human experiences. So whether that's events, activations, you even had in the US kind of big like consumer focused conferences happening.
Yep.
And I think there was really good reason for that. I think there was really there's something to be gained from actually having direct interaction with your customers and letting them interact with each other.
Yeah.
As a business, we have so many stores as well, and they were great tools for us to get feedback. And I miss that. And I also think our customers miss that as well.
Yeah, for sure. Leuk dat je op ons YouTube-kanaal bent. Wil je meer zien en horen vooral van alle top marketing CMO's in Nederland? Abonneer je dan eventjes hieronder, dan mis je nooit een aflevering.